At this point in time, for those of you who are joining us late, we want to welcome you to the 50th Ward Aldermanic Runoff Election Special. We are on the air live from the CAN TV studios, okay, which meant if I wanted to use an interesting four-letter word, you'd hear it, but I don't want to do that. I want to thank, this is a Sonny Hirsch production special.
And by the way, I want to mention,
please.
If you look on your cable guide, it says it's the Sonny Hirsch Show. So this is really a Sonny Hirsch production. It's even named after him on the cable guide.
No, that's correct. And by the way, it will be on YouTube within 24 hours. I am being joined by Rabbi Doug here, and we're wrapping up the first half. And these guys, I want to thank Keith McDonald, want to thank Sonny, want to thank everybody in cable casting. And at this point, we're going to say, welcome to the second half. And I'm here with my co-host, Rabbi Doug. Glad you could join us. This is a Sonny Hirsch production special. The genius behind all the stuff going on technically, of course, is Keith McDonald, who was absolutely terrific. I want to thank Terrence Morris, Leslie Johnson, Amari.
Just Amari.
Hi, Amari, and Joe Centavani. And at this point, I think what we're going to do is it time for the video, guys? We are going to run the video now, and when you come back, well, you're going to see what's going on with the Silversteins, and we're going to be joined by Ahmed Khan. So roll the film anytime you want, guys. We're all set to go.
Hi, I'm not Marty Levinson, and I'm threatening to sue Avi Meyer's brains out.
Hi, I'm not Marty Levinson, and I'm threatening to sue Avi Meyer's brains out.
Hi, Avi Meyer's here, and I want you to know that Deborah and Iris Silverstein have generously offered to sue my brains out. And I'm going to share the lawyer letter with you. From Cronin and Company Limited, Thomas C. Cronin, Silversteins versus Jewish Chicago, and Silversteins versus Jewish Chicago and Avi Meyers, Jewish Chicago 2011 mayoral and election analysis issue. Dear Mr. Myers, this firm's been retained by Deborah and Iris Silverstein in connection with libelous and defamatory statements published by Jewish Chicago and you in Jewish Chicago's 2011 mayoral and election analysis issue. Shame on you, Avi. We submit that a number of statements in your 2011 mayoral and election analysis issue are defamatory and place the Silversteins in a false light. A statement is defamatory if it tends to harm a person's reputation to the extent that it lowers that person in the eyes of the community or deters others from associating with that person. Legal mumbo jumbo. A statement is defamatory per se if its defamatory character is obvious and apparent on its face and injury to the plaintiff's reputation may be presumed. More legal mumbo jumbo. Per se, defamation includes statements imputing an ability to perform or want of integrity in performing employment duties and statements imputing a lack of ability or otherwise prejudicing a person in his or her profession or business. More legal mumbo jumbo. We write to demand that you and Jewish Chicago retract its recently published false and malicious statements concerning our clients, Deborah Silverstein and Iris Silverstein. We will not repeat, that's Senator Iris Silverstein. We will not repeat these statements here, but insist that your malicious accusations, for example, concerning Deborah's diligence and efforts in the committeeman's office, Senator Silverstein's work regarding Boone School, and his communications and efforts on behalf of local rabbis and the Silversteins' family relationship and their work for the larger Jewish community be immediately retracted. The malicious statements contained within Jewish Chicago's 2011 mayoral and election analysis issue are demonstrably false and were known by you to be false when they were published. Such malicious and defamatory remarks have no place in responsible journalism and enjoy no protection under the law. Please advise us in writing by Friday, March 4th, of the steps you will take to retract these untrue statements. We are willing to discuss with you how such retractions and corrections should be accomplished. And, of course, if you refuse to remedy the harm you have caused, we reserve our right to pursue all legal remedies at our disposal. Very truly yours, Thomas C. Cronin. Well, I wrote back, Mr. Cronin, the story in Jewish Chicago was the result of many rigorous hours of interviews and studies, not to mention years of long and careful observation. There is nothing to retract. It's all true and then some. Deborah Silverstein has refused and ignored a number of invitations to appear on my TV show and have her say. This offer is still open, and in fact, I invite both her and her husband to appear March 16th, a show we will air live on the internet. They are welcome to present their case, and if they can prove I made false and/or erroneous statements, I will publicly retract them. As he is a state senator and she is running for alderman, they are public figures. You failed to specify a single detailed item in your letter. There are serious laws about fraudulent lawsuits, and if necessary, I will take action. Sincerely, Avi Myers. And now, on with our show.
Hi there. We are back live in the studio. We are being joined. I am here together with Rabbi Doug, my co-host, Sonny Hirsch production special, Keith McDonald, great work. I'm being joined now by Ahmed Khan. Ahmed, how you doing?
How are you doing?
Good, thank you. You're a community activist. You're a very active member of the Pakistani community, and you actually ran for alderman.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
Okay, so I would assume that both Deborah Silverstein and Alderman Stone asked to meet with you.
Yes, they both did. It was quite an interesting after-election story. The Wednesday after the election, I literally slept the whole day. I mean, I was proud to have ran a clean, issue-based campaign,
yes, you
and
did.
We received a very good response. And not disappointed at all, just happy with what I contributed to that debate. But then right after, the alderman shows up at my family business, and he personally comes and congratulates me for what I did and asked that if we could sit down and talk, and he was interested. I mean, one of the things that overwhelmed me about his response, you hear a lot of things that the alderman is not approachable, that he doesn't listen. He sat down, and one of the first things he said is, I was very impressed with a lot of the stuff that you propose, and I want to work with you to bring that to the 50th Ward. And in seeing who I would endorse next or support next, that was important to me. Which one of the candidates was willing to sit down and see those ideas that I believed in were important to them as well. Not the same response with the Silversteins. I mean, it's a phone call. They tried other people, to try to get in touch with me, even though they know where I am. They know how to get to me. They know my Facebook account. But really no comprehensive response. And that was kind of it for me.
I find it interesting, Ahmed, that when you speak about Deborah, you speak the Silversteins, and that's really what a big concern of a lot of people in the community is that it's not just Deborah. I wanna tell you, Ahmed, and welcome. It's always good to see you. And Ahmed and I have talked a lot in the past few weeks. Ahmed is a real, what we call in Jewish, a mensch.
Definitely, the right word.
He is a good man, an honest man, and a hardworking man. And I want you to know, all through the campaign, the alderman, every time I ran into him and talked to him along the way and heard him mention the people who were running, he said, the only two guys I got respect for is one who dropped out and Ahmed Khan. And really, that's a great thing to hear the alderman say that he had respect for your campaign. And that's because what you said is very true. You ran a clean campaign. You didn't diss anyone. You said, this is what I can do for you or what I want to do for you, not what they can't do for you. And that's a real honorable thing. And I think everybody admires you for that, and that's why everybody liked you. Those who said, well, I'm not voting for him, but I like him. A lot of people said that. A lot of people said that.
Yeah, one thing on another point, I just want to do a minor correction. And that is that, it's interesting because the other two candidates, Mike Moses, basically, he's just not talking to anybody. Greg Brewer, interestingly enough, you would have thought, or I would have thought, that he'd be the first guy to back the Silversteins. Okay? But you know what? Both him and his wife were active members of the 50th Ward organization when Ira won for ward committeeman. She even did 2 precincts of Winston Towers. She did 2 entire Winston Towers, and she and Greg were both star precinct captains. Now let's understand too, I am not speaking for them. Those people really aren't crazy about me, to put it mildly. Okay, but one thing I will say for Greg, compared to Deborah, is Greg honestly believes that what he's doing will result in our neighborhood being a better community. He believes in what he's doing. And he sat down and talked with both Alderman Stone, and Deborah Silverstein. And he actually had a 2-hour conversation with Alderman Stone. I almost fell over when I heard that. Now, when I look at his lawn, he just lives a couple blocks from me. When I look at the lawns of 2 of his main supporters in the neighborhood, there's no signs there either. And you know, when I take a look at Irv Lowndy from Devon Bank, who was his one of main people, he's become a staunch Berny Stone person. He understands who Deborah Silverstein is and the problems he's had with Iris Silverstein. And he and Bernie Stone sat down and they have a dialogue. He's supporting him. Now, by the same token, one of the things I've always liked about Bernie Stone is even if you've been on the opposite side, he's willing to work with you. And he actually has proposed that Greg Brewer should become one of the new members of the Devon Avenue SSA Special Service Area. And I think that's a wonderful, magnanimous gesture because he does understand that Greg Brewer does have intelligent things to say and he wants him to be part of the conversation. And you know what?
And he has people who listen to him, Greg, also.
Yes.
There are people who he has supporters and people who listen to him. So it's important to have people who have a voice, that have people that listen to that voice and take it seriously. And that's one of the reasons the alderman wants him to do that.
Yeah, you know, the response of Deborah Silverstein is what? To offer to very kindly, seriously sue my brains out. So there's a whole big difference in philosophy along those lines.
And I absolutely reiterate that last point that you made. The alderman has been very welcoming to new ideas. I mean, on the contrary, that people say that, no, he doesn't listen. I mean, I don't believe that because he also invited me to also serve on that SSA because he said, you have a lot of young people that you know, you have a lot of vibrancy, you should get involved, you need to get involved. He wants people to contribute their ideas.
As a matter of fact, even on the Touhy Avenue TIF, about 10, 11 guys that were dead set against him from one of the community organizations asked to be a member of the TIF, and he put all of those guys on the TIF. He doesn't mind the opposition. He wants the free speech and exchange of ideas.
Yeah, and another thing that I want to mention out is in the North Tyne News magazine, when you see the inside, the front left page cover, you see over 100 small businesses that have endorsed Alderman Stone. And a lot of those businesses, you know, I was the one that went out and talked to them. And when people ask me, why did you end up endorsing Alderman Stone? When I talked to numerous friends and family members, when I talked to all these businesses that, you know, what they actually wanted. I mean, one of the things that Deborah Silverstein mentions is that the businesses are suffering, they're not happy, that, you know, whatever negative comments about the economic district of the 50th Ward, but yet when you have over 100 businesses and more, and that list is growing, they're saying that, you know, we're putting our trust in this economic downturn in the hands of Alderman Stone. That speaks measures. And that's, you know, of course, that influenced me also to make the endorsement that I did, that when the businesses, when his colleagues, when various ethnic organizations, it speaks measures.
No, there's no question about it. And when I take a look at her financial forms, which I take a look at both Stone and Silverstein's on a daily basis, she has one retail establishment in the neighborhood listed within the ward. One. And there's over 100 there, which will tell you a lot about where business development is going and you know, who the business people think is by far the better individual.
You know, I think people don't take advantage of, you know, those who get up and say, well, you know, Alderman doesn't listen or something like that. They don't take advantage of what really is available to them. Now, you'll excuse me for speaking about you, but Ahmed Khan had a community meeting and I decided to go and listen to it, and I came. It was at a store, a restaurant on Devon Avenue. They had a community meeting where the alderman spoke, and I mentioned to everyone in this meeting, you know, I spoke up as people were able to raise their hands and ask the alderman to make a statement. I said, for those people who aren't aware, the alderman is in his office not only during the day some days, but he's downtown most days, but 2 nights a week, he spends hours in his office until every person who comes in after 6:30 p.m. is seen, and he officially takes appointments till 8 p.m., but he never leaves at 8 p.m. because there's always people still waiting to meet with him, and he listens to everyone personally and takes care of whatever they need to be taken care of or gives them the advice they need at that time. And everybody in the room said, we all know that. We all know that already. It's amazing, but unfortunately not everybody knows that.
And I can absolutely second that thought.
As a matter of fact, time out here. Would you have somebody on the phone? It looks like, he's probably busy campaigning, but right now, by the way, there's 2 office nights, but I'm going to let our guest on the phone tell you himself. So please join us.
Hi, I'm not Marty Levinson.
Welcome, Alderman Stone.
Listen,
Welcome.
I thought the program was next week.
Oh, you know what? First of all, I know it's been a busy campaign thing, but, and by the way, I hate to say it, I originally told you it was next week, and I goofed up. So,
Yeah, I just noticed on your email you did say it was this week.
Yeah, but you know what? I just sent it out. I sent it out like 11:40 last night.
Well, we've got your picture on the screen, and we're happy to have you on the show with us, Alderman.
Thank you, thank you. Listen, I'm a little peeved. Should I tell you what I'm peeved about?
Please.
A couple pieces went out this week from the committee for I guess it's for Better Chicago, whatever it is. You know, the one that our mayor-elect is sponsoring. They're telling that I'm against veterans and senior citizens, a class in which I belong in both classes. I'm a veteran and a senior citizen. And it said Berny Stone's against senior citizens and veterans. Of course, the bill that I voted against had absolutely nothing to do with senior citizens and veterans. But but it tells how I voted against giving senior citizens and veterans rides on the CTA. Should I tell you what the bill was about?
Please do. A lot of people have been asking about that. We've already brought it up earlier, and that wasn't actually accurate, and we'd really like to know what the accuracy is.
All right. The bill was a bill that would confirm an ill-conceived act of the state legislature. The state legislator, trying to bail out the CTA, decided in 2007 that they were going to use the Real Estate Transfer Act. I had even written to the chairman of the Transportation Committee in the House, who was also acting on behalf of the Senate, that was the wrong tax, because I told them that there was going to be a recession, and that the Real Estate Transfer Act was an improper use because it would not have sufficient funds to help bail out the CTA. I didn't realize I was going to be Nostradamus and predict the future, and I never realized it was going to be as bad as it has become. But needless to say, in the city alone, the Real Estate Transfer Act proceeds fell more than $60 million. I hate to think of what it fell in the state. So needless to say, it failed to bail out the CTA, and that's the reason the CTA is in so much trouble today. So I was absolutely right, and the act, of course, did not bail out the CTA, and the act was a disaster. But they needed the confirmation of the city council. So I was one of the 6 votes in the city council that refused to vote for confirmation of a bad action by the legislature, and I was proven right by what's happened in the history, because the act turned out to not to do what it was intended to do.
Alderman, can you tell our viewers how that included veterans? Because that's something that they're...
Apparently, a portion of that bailout provided that the CTA had to provide free rides for seniors and veterans. And that, so it had absolutely no direct effect on them, but it was an indirect effect.
Mm-hmm.
So using that indirect statement, they said I voted against veterans and seniors.
One thing, Sonny, can you do a split screen? Is that possible? Okay, sorry about that. I'm sorry about that, Alderman. You know, in terms of accuracy, too, on this whole business, she also has a different piece, and she has a different piece, too, that talks about what an incredible spendthrift you are, that you voted on many occasions to raise taxes, and in the fine print, if you look, this is citing one time in 1993, one time in 1992, and another time in 2004. I mean, 7 years ago, you voted to raise taxes, and 3 times in the last 18, 19 years. What an incredible spendthrift.
Well, worse than that. In in the 1999 year, excuse me, when we raised our salary $10,000, I was the only member of the city council who refused to accept that raise for all 4 years. So even though we raised our salary $10,000, and even though I voted for it, I refused to accept the $10,000. So I'm such a spendthrift that I didn't take the $40,000 increase. Secondarily, this last raise, with the one I proposed, the only one which I proposed, we raised our salary approximately $4,500. But during that same period we raised our salary $4,500, I have been voluntarily accepting furlough days, non-paid furlough days, and non-paid holidays, and billing on a voluntary basis, because in as much as our salary is prescribed by the legislature, we don't have to take those furlough days. But I've been doing it voluntarily, which means I've been taking a loss of $9,000. So the net result of that salary increase is that I've been losing $4,500 a year. So in the meantime, I'm such a spendthrift that I've been losing money on all of these raises.
Yes, shame on you. And by the way, one of the things you missed in the first half also when we were discussing, you know, two pieces of literature yesterday from out of state and unions, special interests, the whole shot, declared that you have voted to raise salaries 8 times. Now that's 8 times in 37 years. If I was working in a regular business and my boss raised me 8 times in 37 years, I would have walked out a long time before 37 years.
Well, I didn't walk out because I enjoy what I do, and I got to tell you, the opening salary when I was elected in 1973 was $8,500, and it was supposed to be a part-time job. At the time, my only aide earned $9,000, and I was getting $8,500.
Is that Art Herman?
And for 6 years, that's what our salary was. In 1977, I voted to increase our salary. 1978, I voted to increase our salary to $27,000. So I mean, this is a terrible thing we've done. $27,000 for a full-time job, and you know, we are spendthrifts. I got to tell you.
No question about it. Now, you know, how's the campaign going so far?
Well, I think it's going all right. You got to understand, I'm the underdog in this campaign. The so-called machine is against me. Remember, the Democratic committeeman is the husband of our opponent. The mayor-elect is against me. Most of the elected officials, with the exception of the city council, opposes me. But the unions obviously oppose me because I refuse to be their pawn in the city council. And but, you know, I've been very fortunate. I've been endorsed by most of the businessmen on Devon Avenue and Dewey Avenue and California and Western Avenue, which she say they're all against me, but most of them have endorsed me. They've been the heart of my contributions to businessmen. And so, you know, I feel that also that I'm getting the endorsement of the people. And so I expect to be successful on April 5th.
No, I think so too, because you have the people. And as a matter of fact, if you look at your donations, you've got over 100 businesses supporting you. You've got around 3/4 of the members of the city council supporting you. Despite the fact that their new master is for her, they still feel it's important enough to back you because they know who they're getting in you. And anybody who's been watching anything like Chicago Tonight, and I want to talk about that for a second here, is beginning to see what they might be getting, and it's pretty scary. You know, I thought it was interesting when Phil Ponce asked you to show proof, you know, that, you know, about 2 specific subjects, and you hold out a folder, and he says, we don't have time for that.
Well, I was ready to prove it, and you know, she asked me, why didn't you do something about it? Of course we've done something about it. We've had the Corporation Council file lawsuits against the slumlords.
I want to specifically talk, because we haven't touched the slumlords yet in the show. I was saving that for you. Sure, one of her 5 largest contributors is that she listed with one or both of the daily newspapers.
Well, she did it with the Sun Times. She said that Common Management was one of her 5 biggest contributors.
Yeah,
and I've got to say that on her D2 that was originally filed, it listed Common Management. Somehow, mysteriously, that page of her D2 has been changed. It now reads Talmud Medical. Not that it makes any difference, because Talmud Medical is the same parties as Talmud Management.
And
so,
this is somebody with
the names are different,
buildings.
but the parties are the same. But she changed the name. And apparently the check was issued by Talmud Medical. But that doesn't make any difference. But the only difference it makes is that Talmud Management receives money from the city. So therefore, she broke the ethics ordinance of the city if she had received money from Talmud Management. So that's why she had to change the record and show that it came from Talmud Medical.
And let's also remember that 3 of their buildings, they are 3 of their buildings within the last 5 years that's easily searchable, have been in housing court or the subjects of many 311 calls.
Absolutely.
And before 5 years, we've had, since, part of, in my spare time, I'm involved in some of the camp stuff. There have been numerous court watch cases, numerous citations. They have been leasing to drug dealers and drug users, people with unsavory backgrounds, criminal records, loud music.
All of which she's going to clean up, by the way. She's going to clean up the Devon Avenue. She's going to clean up all the crime. And the joke is that her supporter is leasing to the same people.
Well, she says she wants real change, and real change would be being beholding to the biggest slumlord, bad landlord in our neighborhood. That would be real change.
And he's not the only slumlord she's taken money from either.
No, as a matter of fact, that family is very tight with Amrit Patel and Balvinder Singh. Her husband has actually represented all 3 on occasion in court. And if you take a look at the copy of the Northtown News Magazine, you'll actually see a case number cited that anybody can take and look up in case they have any doubts. I wanted to make it proactive for people to be able to look at the issue and find out that her facts down the line are not true and then some.
Well, even worse than that, her main issue early on in the campaign is she absolutely came down on me on the meter deal. And you know what? Her example was the 2900 block of Toohey Avenue. The 11 or 12 spaces on Toohey Avenue, which incidentally was the only commercial space that didn't have meters for all these years. Now, I didn't order those meters there. I was ordered by the Department of Transportation when we took away meters on Devon Avenue.
We're going to be cut off air in half a minute, so I've got to stop you
in
here.
In any event, she took money from Mayor-elect Emanuel, who received over $400,000 from the lobbyists and lawyers of the meter company.
Which makes her beholden.
How do you take money from the meter company indirectly and then criticize me on the meter?
I want to thank you, Alderman Stone. Thank you, Rabbi Doug. Thank you, Ahmed Khan. Thank you, Sonny Hirsch. Thank you, Keith McDonald. Thank everybody at Can TV. And thank you, everybody, for joining us. We're glad you were able to be here. I'm sorry we couldn't make more points, Alderman Stone, on the subject.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
My pleasure, but she is beholding to these people. If anybody thinks for 1 minute that Deborah Silverstein doesn't owe these people and will vote their way, she will. For an independent voice, vote for Alderman Stone, no question about it.
April 5th.
April 5th, he's pledged no tax increases. Through March 31st, go to Warren Park and vote early. Very important deal to... we need him. If God forbid she gets elected, we're stuck for 20 years with somebody that we're going to regret beyond belief. Alderman Stone has said in 4 years from now, that's going to be it. So the fact is, it's time for, if you're interested and intelligent and all the rest of it, start going now. Thanks, everybody.